Good day, Africa, and welcome to AAU Talks on AAU TV. AAU TV, the voice of higher education in Africa. My name is Irene Dufie Addai, and I'm going to be your host for today's AAU Talks. We'll go for a short break, and when we come back, I would introduce to you my guest for our topic of discussion, mainstreaming ethics in higher education in Africa. Do stay tuned.
Kampala International University, you are the torch that lights above. In you we see a future bright, and by you the nation gaineth from services pure. The emblem that you trust is the message, unique in great and truly the giants. With such a height, no success is true, but with such a size, no task is surmountable. Equipped with knowledge, down to us, we go out of your gates with dignity. May your vision bright and knowledge so above be manifested.
Welcome back. In case you just tuned in, this is AAU Talks on AAU TV. My guest for today's discussion is Professor Dr. Obiora Francis Ike, who is the Executive Director of Globe Ethics Switzerland. Thank you, Prof, for joining me here, and we are very privileged to have you here.
My pleasure to all our listeners around the African continent.
Yes, and welcome to our studios here at the Secretariat in Accra. Yeah. So, Prof, we want to know about Globe Ethics before we even talk about ethics in higher education or even in Africa. We want to know a little bit about Globe Ethics. Can you give us in the space of 1 minute what Globe Ethics stands for and what they do?
With joy, globeethics.net is the largest platform for ethics professionals,
Right.
engaging applied ethics across sectors, ethics applied to economy, to social life, to engineering, to artificial intelligence. What is the role of ethics in the higher education, in universities? Does ethics have a place in the world of business?
Right.
We've looked around to discover that globally we are receding in values, and there is growing corruption. There is lack of respect. There are lack of virtues like integrity.
Right.
So the issue of ethics, which is the ability for human beings who think to do the right thing and to do it correctly. This is where ethics comes in as a values-driven subject. Globe Ethics was founded in Geneva in 2004
Right.
as, like I said, a platform for people around the world to raise voice and activity and action for ethics. So it has a digital library, the largest digital library globally, with over 8 million documents.
Right.
It does publications on topics around ethics. It has a network of persons who relate with one another, and of course institutions. We have over 80% of the participants on Globe Ethics networks are institutions of higher learning, educational institutions, universities from virtually every country in the world. And globeethics.net therefore uses this capacity, its ability to push for an agenda currently in its strategy. How can we increase ethics, its knowledge, and its practice in higher education and in the lives of people in the world?
Right. That's very well. And one would think, why do we choose ethics? Why do we think it's important to uphold ethics in what we do, especially in our universities or in any institution or wherever we find ourselves? Why do we think there is a need to make the people aware of ethics and why we should go by that?
Human beings need an orientation.
Right.
We call it compass. It's either you are going north, south, east, or west. Whoever leaves his house, her house, wants to go somewhere, must have a geography. So the navigation of life is ethics.
Right.
When I want to do something, I take decisions. It can be the right, it can be the wrong. Ethics is the compass for human beings to move around in their decisions, in their actions, in their thinking, contributing to the social and common good ethically by doing what is right. As soon as a human being derails, it causes consequences beyond the human person.
Right.
So when you do harm, its consequences are much more. Sometimes they go into generations just for one action.
Right.
So why I must be ethical is because my actions impact on sustainability, on society, on the lives of others, on youth, on development, on structures.
Right.
And going into universities, educational institutions, is where you train the human mind to be nurtured to do things rightly. We have issues in universities, corruption, sexual harassment,
Right.
plagiarism, lack of research ethics, bullying, and there are a lot of vices. And through an ethics orientation, we bring the young students, the teachers, the institutions on a level of impacting more positively on society. All those who are heads of states, of governments, ministers of government, people who work in finance and industries of business, people who are engineers, those who are parents of the future, most of them in the current situation of the world emerge from institutions of education, especially universities.
Right.
So what we take when we are students is what we give out when we come into the world as professionals.
Right.
Pushing ethics, therefore, as an agenda for action is not only an emergency decision, it is the call of the moment.
So that's very well. So as Globe Ethics, how do you impact, what are some of the methods and the ways that you use to impact ethics into the people? Because I know you said you have a platform, but what are some of the ways? Do you use virtual realities? How do you go about giving ethics or teaching the professionals on ethical issues?
Why we are even global is because we respect diversity.
Right.
There are people who come from Asian countries, from European, from American countries, from Africa, from Australia and Oceania. So, and each group of human beings with their cultural diversity, with their linguistic differences, they have their myth,
Right.
their religions, their cultures, their attitudes, and their principles. So a values-driven global environment is what Globe Ethics tries to moderate. So we allow the voices to be heard, and through those voices that are heard, that's why we are a network beyond boundaries,
Right.
a network on ethics. And that network uses the network, which is the IT platforms.
Right.
It uses the writing, that is the publications. It has an annual international conference, which we call the Globe Ethics Forum.
Great.
It uses its regional programs. We have them in Africa, in Asia, in Latin America, in North America, the regional programs. We have over 45 national contacts, countries where there is a Globe Ethics representative. We are here in Ghana today because we have a regional conference happening here in Ghana,
Right.
and what the Globe Ethics representation is carrying out, and we are present to give support. So Globe Ethics Networks is through writing, through publishing,
Right.
through editing, through music, and through even art and artifacts which talk ethics.
Okay. Prof. Ike, want to talk more on the online platform. And first of all, why is it important for an online platform? Since what we know in higher education in Africa mostly are traditional buildings where we go sit and then we learn. But why online platforms, and what are some of the things you have on the platform, and how is it going to impact Africa?
Well, technology has taken over.
Right.
Globally, the information technology has come to stay. It has added value to activities for human beings to be more agile, practical, and even be present without being physically present.
Right.
So education has also used these tools of modern communication, the internet, the telematics, the informatics, to move on and to access many more people across the globe. There were days earlier when we had to do everything in a physical environment, but these days I will be here teaching before a webinar or with an IT platform, and I have thousands of students out there anywhere in the world accessing the teaching I am doing. So Globe Ethics, like I said, Globe Ethics Net. The network is the IT platform that makes sure that 8 million books, which we have on our digital library, is on everybody's Android telephone for free. So you can read the books, you can download them automatically without even having to pay anything. So we are a free online access institution. For one reason, justice. Many people do not have money from some countries of the world, but they need the knowledge which belongs to entire humanity. So we want to access them to such knowledge so that they can read on the telephone, download on their on their PCs, as the case may be, and get used to what is a universal good. The other one is the platform whereby now the Globe Ethics Academy specifically comes out with studies, with subjects, with items that deal with the subject of ethics. Mainstreaming ethics in higher education is important. But when you go to a higher education institution, what you find first is the institution, and that is the building, the structures, the ownership, the board, the council, the senate. They are the institution that manage a university. Before then, you even have then the teachers who have to transmit knowledge to their clients who are students. And these are those who become professionals in the future. So Globe Ethics Online platform addresses the integration of ethics in higher education for the institutions. How are the ethical compliances, the quality assurances for my admissions, those I admit in universities? With what qualifications do they come? Because we discover in some cases people are not even qualified, or you crony, nepotism, ethnicism, undermining the system just to make sure that you advance people. So universities must become ethical. And then the rules and regulations of institutions of global standards have to be applied also in all universities, including African universities. And then you think about the content. What do you teach? This is where we pull resources from around the world. The pool of experts of globeethics.net do research on law, on administration, on engineering, on artificial intelligence, on natural sciences, on speculative sciences, philosophy, normative ethics, meta-ethics, metaphysics, and they do these subjects and put it out there. So teachers now learn how to be ethical. You don't need to say, I'm studying ethics. No. Ethics is everything about life. It's about the decisions you make every day. Now, the books or the substance of the digital library goes to the students to read. And teachers can use those models to encourage their students to know the right things and make a choice. And then the professionals also have their possibility. So the Globe Ethics Net platform is the Globe Ethics Academy. And the academy is where then the teachers from around the world engage their students or their participants towards the subjects. I take an example, responsible leadership. I take an example, the webinars, whereby what is ethics, why ethics, how ethics, and people listen to that, even correspond. So the virtual realities, which is something that is great. We are partnering with a university in South Africa, UNISA. It's a digital online university, 400,000 students. We just finished the conference of the ICD in Dublin, the International Council for Distance Education. One university in China has 1.3 million students, one university. And there are many more like that. The future is that working people, professionals don't have all the time to bind themselves in a classroom and attend lectures under a hall. They must now be taught, even at their places of work, in their rooms, and at times when they are available. Because what a university has to achieve is to transmit knowledge and transmit value. And the Globe Ethics platform does exactly this. It is novel, and it is probably a leading platform for this topic, which is so key for African universities, ethics in higher education.
All right. That's very well. We'll go for a short break, and then when we come for a break, we'll talk about your book, what it is about. We'll talk about collaborations, the online platform, and why is it important for higher education in Africa. In case you just tuned in, this is AAU Talks on AAU TV. We are talking about mainstreaming ethics in higher education in Africa. Do stay tuned. Welcome back to AAU Talks on AAU TV. If you just joined, and our topic for discussion is mainstreaming ethics in higher education in Africa. You can watch this program on our Facebook page, Association of African Universities, on our YouTube pages, Association of African Universities, and also our online channels. Okay, Prof. So before we went on the break, we were talking about the importance of the online platform. But we know most of our online platforms comes with a little bit of quality issues. So we want to talk about quality assurance when we are talking about online platforms. What measures are put in place that what you are giving out has the quality that when you are online teaching is equal, it's the same, has the same value as you sitting in the classroom?
Well, quality assurance is a very important component today of what we transmit to the young. This is why you have curriculum and accreditations that even accompany that which you offer. At globeethics.net, we are working towards the accreditation of all the ethics courses which we offer through the online platform, so that wherever university you are, you already get a credit for it based on the fact that they are accredited. Besides that, quality assurance has to deal with even the quality of who is offering the subject. A teacher who teaches must be qualified to teach. You may know a singer called Fela Ransom Kuti, who said something like in one of his very casual dances, "Teacher, don't teach me nonsense." You know, and he danced it off also. So quality assurance is about the ethical ingredient, the fact that the subject is accredited, the transmission methods, and also the goal of making sure that international best practices and standards are observed in what the platform and what the content of the teaching content offers, or what we share with the public. In mainstreaming ethics in higher education, we discovered that the massive, the MOOCs, you know, the
massive online open courses.
Online, exactly, open courses reach a large number of people. These MOOCs are key. They don't remove the physical contacts with the teachers. They reduce it. But definitely, massive online courses reach large numbers of people wherever they are and transmit the knowledge which people are searching for. I don't need to see you to learn what is good. In the past, we lived in villages. The elders and wise people sat around the fireplace. They told us stories. We saw their faces, listened to their stories, touched them physically. Today, every human being has on one telephone much more information than entire humanity ever shared for the past 1,000 years.
True.
So we are over-flooded with information. Where Globe Ethics comes is to say quality information,
Right.
quality knowledge, and it is quality assured. Because with that, you also go into your own life, into your own world to progress your own identity and your own needs for your society.
Right. So now let's talk about money, because it is very important when we talk about education and when we even talk about quality education. And so using online platforms, using webinar platforms, and then all of that to disseminate ethics. How expensive is it, and how is it funded? Sometimes you need people to pay, or is there donor funding for people to access these courses that you have? So let's talk about the money part.
Globally, education has been defined as a human right.
Yeah.
The right to access is also a human right.
Right.
People must have knowledge of that which helps their lives. It is the work of governments to make it possible for all their citizens to have access to basic knowledge,
Right.
whether it is universal basic education, whether it is even higher education. We've discovered that, of course, money is not always enough, and people have handicaps. Governments have handicaps and challenges, and they go to some extent. This is where NGOs, foundations, institutions come together to offer support. What Globe Ethics does is to say money should never stop any human being from having access to ethical knowledge.
Right.
So Globe Ethics started actually with saying, look, how come that people must carry hard books, literature, and materials for people to touch in a world where the digital possibilities make it really a reality that you can read, and you don't even need to touch money, but you touch the knowledge. So Globe Ethics, with its 8 million materials and documents and books, are all open, free, and accessible.
Right.
You only need to go to the website www.globeethics.net. You click, you download even physically the books, and you can read them and have them as your possession. So money will always come when there is something good happening. And Globe Ethics has this possibility by virtue of also the volunteering nature of professionals and friends and colleagues of its network of over 200,000 members around the world, of its regional programs. Globe Ethics has this possibility with little money to achieve much more. We have a publishing house, for example, and publish books. People write PhDs, master's degrees, thesis, but they never have money to publish it. Globe Ethics brings it out for you without long story. If you come from developing countries like many African nations, you virtually is almost like nothing. Like a P, just small thing one has to donate in terms of making the work not only published, but everywhere readable and downloadable. And we have encouraged many university thesis writers to go to the Globe Ethics Publications Network and get their works done. Besides that, I mean, Globe Ethics does not need a large number of staff at its headquarters with a very small number of staff, but it does great things. Linking universities, we form now a consortium of universities. The consortium of universities brings in universities. If you think about the East Africa region, Catholic University of East Africa, Daystar University, St. Paul's University, or go to South Africa, UNISA, and so on. You go to a country like Nigeria, you have the University of Nigeria, you have the Enugu State University of Science and Technology, Godfrey Okoye University, and many others who are members of the consortium. You go to a country like Ghana. Tomorrow I'm having a meeting with Ashesi University here in Ghana, the Ghana University, the GIMPA, and other higher institutions of learning. You go to countries like Senegal, like Germany, and in Cologne, and in Frankfurt University. You go to places like Belgium. So a global network of universities coming together under a consortium and pushing the agenda of ethics in higher education. Reason, through such methods, we are able to share and exchange knowledge. We are able to share and exchange professionals and teachers. We are able to share and exchange students. We are able to share and exchange teaching material and content. We are able to share and exchange values and people move around and they build friendships beyond walls. So the Globe Ethics Net Consortium, which the platform makes possible, has really created, and we are pushing it further, that ethics in higher education for ranking purposes. How do you rank a university?
Exactly.
You rank a university based on probably numbers of students, financial ability, institutional space, accommodation, green campuses, and so on. But we have now contributed to say, no, you have to add, very importantly, the ethical ingredients of a higher education institution. Are there issues of plagiarism? Are there issues of sexual harassment? How is the university research methodologies carried out? Are they ethical enough? The entire topic of artificial intelligence and bringing in ethics into the world of the university. Admissions of students, promotion of teachers. When they talk PhD, pull her down or pull him down. We are saying that ethics must be the opposite. You go to a university not to harm, but to help, to collaborate. So this growing platform for the African Association of Universities is what we want to offer to all vice chancellors across the African continent. Make ethics part of your component. We do trainings. Globe Ethics comes to do trainings for universities where you pay little to nothing, in terms of a team of experts come and they train trainers who now stay back in the institution for further training. But once you get the methodologies of training and you also receive something like what we call the integration, the directorate for ethics education within a university. The directorate brings in compliance issues, procurement issues, academic disciplinary issues, what you call, it just collates all of them in such a way that a university has a model to run on.
Right. So before we go, we would want to talk about your book, and it is called Mainstreaming Ethics in Higher Education, Research Ethics in Administration, Finance, Education, Environment, and Law. Can you talk a little bit about it?
I like to touch that book.
Yeah.
When you look at even the cover, you see the ocean.
Yeah.
And what you find in the ocean is fish.
Fish, yeah.
That is very symbolic. The fish is mainstreamed in water and it lives because it has water.
Yeah.
Ethics is the water for higher education, without which we are not. So mainstreaming ethics in higher education is bringing life into higher education. It has to go into administration, ethical administration, respect, integrity, decency, inclusion, diversity, non-bullying, no abuse of power, finance. We know what happens in the world of education and so on, and where money talks and where corruption starts, including brown envelope mentality. You think about education itself.
Right.
What is education but to bring the young into their destiny of making right decisions in freedom and using rationality. And I talk about the environment, and that is a key area today in the world where we know that climate change issues, sustainability issues, SDG Agenda 2030 is on, and that's all around the topic of sustainability. And of course, law. Without law, we are almost like non-existent. And this book has been authored by me, but it came from research works of African professors in Kenya. In Kenya, in East Africa. So we do such things. We've done one with Nigerian universities and other institutions of higher learning. Mainstreaming ethics in higher education is the way to go. And
where do we get this book, since we don't want to give it all out for them to go and then look for it and buy it?
This book is free of charge. It is on everybody's telephone who has an Android telephone, like I said. And it is open access, so any person can read every page of this book by just opening the telephone, going to globeethics.net website and clicking the title of the book, downloading the chapters you want, reading it on your telephone, printing it out for yourself, and taking it home. You can also buy it like this from Amazon,
Okay.
or from Globe Ethics Office if you want. But normally, whether you have money or you don't have money, you have access not only to this book, but to 8 million books, which Globe Ethics has. That's what we think we can contribute to the universe, that when people know, then they can act.
Right.
Ignorance is the reason why there is unethical behavior.
Yes, yeah.
People do not know that their corrupt practices has consequences on their children and on generations to come.
Yeah.
Whether it's in political misbehavior or on social and business misbehavior. Because if I want to do good business, it must be ethical business.
Yeah.
If I tell a lie, it continues to be a lie for the next 200 years.
Yeah.
So it's better I tell one truth and it continues to be the truth for the next 200 years. So my action today impacts society overall. Ethics in higher education is what universities can offer to the African continent.
Okay, so before we go, your last words, and then we bring our program to a close.
What we want to do is to empower the Africa Association of Universities as Globe Ethics. We have already discussed with the Secretary General and his team that we need really to encourage vice chancellors to buy into the agenda, to have trainings conducted for them by Globe Ethics, to have materials read, to establish in their universities a directorate, and to have us come and talk to them and share with them. But we do think that the future lies in an ethically compliant society.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us. It has been an interesting conversation on ethics.
Thank you, Irene.
Yeah. In case you just tuned in, we are done with AAU Talks, and we talked about mainstreaming ethics in higher education in Africa. You can still watch it on our pages, Association of African Universities, on YouTube and on Facebook. My name is Irene Dufie Addai, and I have been your host for this program. Do stay tuned. Thank you.